1 month after the first human ships arrived in Silverian space, the joint operation had transformed from emergency response to structured alliance. The grand observatory atop the Crystal Palace now served as command center. Human and elven officers worked side by side, monitoring the barrier and coordinating fleet movements. Xyla stood before the massive holographic display, watching as the combined fleet took position along critical points in the barrier. The princess had adapted to human military protocols with surprising ease. Her millennia of command experience complemented by fresh tactical approaches. Admiral Ella Bradley, Earth Fleet Commander, approached with updated reports. Our engineers have successfully modified 15 key barrier nodes the reinforcement is holding. Xyla nodded in approval. The green indicators on the display confirmed the Admiral's words. The most vulnerable sections had been strengthened. Small victories against a patient enemy. The princess had learned to appreciate incremental progress, a human concept that contrasted with elven thinking. Kate and Grace entered the observatory, followed by Vex. The dragon had formed an unexpected bond with the human engineer. Their collaboration had yielded breakthroughs in Ethereum technology. We have something. The dragon projected excitement vibrating through his crystalline form. Grace modified your neutralizer technology using principles from both our systems. Grace activated a small device. The holographic display zoomed in, showing molecular structures. This reverses the original disruptive effect. Instead of weakening Ethereum fields, it creates resonance patterns that strengthen them. Kate continued. We've tested it on 3 barrier nodes. The effect is exponential. Each reinforced node strengthens those connected to it. The network multiplies the impact. Xyla studied the data. The princess had immersed herself in human scientific methods, learning new approaches to problems her people had studied for millennia. How soon can we implement this throughout the barrier? Grace smiled. That's the best part. We can use existing Ethereum conduits to distribute the effect. The entire network could be reinforced within days, not months. This news rippled through the command center. Elven mages and human scientists bent over consoles, verifying the findings. The mood shifted from determined resistance to cautious optimism. For the first time, they had more than temporary measures. They had a potential solution outside on the observation deck. Olivia met with Vex. The Major had developed a working relationship with the dragon founded on mutual respect. The crystalline being had insights no human or elf possessed. The void has changed its pattern. Olivia noted, studying sensor readings from the fleet. It's no longer pressing against multiple points, it's concentrating on Sector 7. Vex projected images from the sector. 7 contained a small Ethereum deposit, one of the few outside the homeworld. It senses weakness, there the dragon explained, but also opportunity. The void learns. It adapts. It wants the Ethereum. This behavior confirmed what many had suspected. The void was not merely a natural phenomenon, but something with purpose, possibly intelligence. Its actions showed strategy, targeting vulnerabilities and resources with increasing precision. We should reinforce that sector immediately, Olivia concluded. The dragon agreed, but cautioned, there is more. The void appears to be accelerating its approach. His crystalline form shifted, displaying recorded images. The darkness between stars moved with new purpose. No longer the patient predator, it now advanced with deliberate speed. Olivia recognized the implications. It knows what we're doing. It's racing us. This development required immediate response. The Major returned to the observatory with Vex presenting their findings to the command staff. The strategic situation had changed. Their timetable for implementing the barrier reinforcement suddenly compressed. Admiral Bradley redirected fleet assets to Sector 7. We need a defensive line while the barrier reinforcement deploys. Xyla activated the communication array addressing all ships and installations. The void accelerates its approach. All barrier reinforcement must be completed within 3 cycles. Deploy all available resources to Sector 7. The observatory transformed into a war room. Tactical displays replaced scientific data. Fleet movements took priority over research updates. The brief period of optimism gave way to urgent action. Kate found herself coordinating between human and elven communication systems. The lieutenant had become essential to the alliance. Her understanding of both cultures allowed her to translate, not just words but intentions and approaches. In engineering labs throughout the palace, Grace led teams implementing the barrier reinforcement technology. The modified neutralizers required precise calibration, each one tuned to specific frequencies in the Ethereum network. The work was delicate and demanding. Olivia joined Admiral Bradley in tactical planning. The Major had never expected to help coordinate a fleet action against a cosmic entity, yet her special operations background proved valuable. She understood asymmetric warfare. Fighting against a superior force required unconventional thinking. Vex moved between groups, his unique perspective bridging disciplines. The dragon served as living conduit between species and specialties. His connection to the Ethereum network provided real-time feedback on their efforts, as night fell. Emergency alarms sounded throughout the palace. The void had breached the outer barrier in Sector 7. Its advance accelerated beyond all predictions. The darkness spread like ink through water, consuming everything in its path. The command center erupted with activity. Admiral Bradley ordered fleet elements to evacuate threatened outposts. Xyla directed Ethereum reserves to the breach. The coordinated response demonstrated how far the Alliance had come in short time. Grace rushed into the observatory holding a modified neutralizer. We've completed the primary reinforcement module. It's ready for deployment. All eyes turned to the engineer. The device seemed small against the scale of the threat they faced. A human creation modified with elven knowledge. Their best hope against the darkness. Xyla took the device, examining it closely. How do we deploy it? For maximum effect, Vex projected an image of the Ethereum network. It must be placed at the central node. Here, the dragon indicated a location deep within the palace. The place where the princess connected directly to the planetary network. The implications were clear. Someone must physically carry the device into the heart of the Ethereum field and activate it there. The concentration of energy made remote activation impossible. The radiation would destroy any transmission. I will take it, Xyla declared. My connection to the network gives me the best chance of survival. Kate stepped forward. No, Your Highness, you maintain the existing barrier. If it fails completely before the reinforcement activates, everything is lost. I should go, Olivia interjected. The Major had evaluated the risks. Lieutenant Morrison is right. The princess is too valuable to the current defense. I should lead this mission. The argument continued, each leader willing to sacrifice for the greater good. This too represented how much had changed. The initial distrust between species had transformed into mutual respect and commitment. Finally, Vex interrupted, projecting to all present. None of you can survive the radiation at the central node. The dragon's crystalline form glowed brighter. I can. The Ethereum flows. Through me differently, it sustains rather than harms. The dragon took the device in his claws. I will place it, and I will connect it to the network directly through my form. Kate recognized the sacrifice Vex would be making. The dragon would become part of the reinforcement, permanently bound to the network. His individual consciousness might not survive. The crystalline being sensed her concern and projected privately to her. My kind measures existence differently. Lieutenant, we continue in the network. Our essence remains. This is transformation, not ending. Preparations began immediately. Grace modified the device for Dragon's interface. Olivia coordinated security, ensuring clear passage to the central node. Kate worked with Xyla, establishing the connection protocols that would integrate the reinforcement throughout the network outside. The darkness spread. The void breach widened. Stars disappeared. Outposts fell silent. The fleet fought delaying actions, evacuating populations where possible. The enemy they faced consumed reality itself, leaving nothing behind. In the central chamber, deep beneath the palace, the Ethereum core pulsed with blue-white energy. The room had not been entered in centuries. Its walls, composed of pure crystal, amplified and directed the planetary energy throughout the Empire. Vex approached the core, the modified device secured to his chest. The dragon moved deliberately, each step bringing him closer to transformation. The radiation affected even his crystalline form, causing small fractures that immediately resealed themselves differently. his body adapting, becoming something new. From the observatory they watched through remote sensors. The dragons progressed, tracked on displays human and elven staff held. Collective breath. Their different physiologies united in hope and tension. Zyla maintained her connection to the network, feeling every fluctuation. Her concentration never wavered, despite the strain. The princess, whose shock at human arrival had begun this alliance, now depended on human innovation for her empire's survival. Vex reached the core. The dragon extended his wings, creating maximum surface contact with the Ethereum field. The device activated, connecting to his crystalline structure. The reinforcement began spreading through the network, following paths established over millennia. In the observatory, readings spiked. Energy patterns shifted. The Grand Council chamber of the Silverian Palace had never hosted aliens before. Today it held 5 humans and dozens of elven nobles, military commanders, and scientists. The atmosphere was tense as both species worked to overcome centuries of isolation and suspicion. Kate stood beside Zyla at the head of the massive crystal table. Her role as translator and cultural interpreter had become official. Her months as a captive now served a greater purpose, giving her insight into elven customs and protocols that proved invaluable. Olivia presented the human perspective. Our ships can be here within 2 weeks. Earth Command has authorized immediate assistance. The Major had spent hours convincing her superiors of the threat the Void represented. Something beyond normal military concerns. It was existential. Grace projected technical schematics. Our engineers believe we can modify our neutralizer technology to strengthen the Ethereum network. The theoretical models show promising results, but we need more data. The elven scientists studied the human designs with interest. Their own technology had developed along different paths, focusing on amplification and harmonics rather than disruption. The combination of approaches offered new possibilities. Vex moved among them, his crystalline form serving as a living demonstration. The dragon could interface with both technologies, feeling the energies and helping translate concepts between the species. His unique perspective proved essential. 1. Elven commander remained skeptical. How can we trust them, he demanded. They breached our defenses, they weakened the barrier. Their very presence threatens our security. Zyla stood tall, her regal bearing. Silencing the objection, they came for their own. They showed loyalty and courage, qualities we respect. And when they learned the truth, they offered alliance. I have lived 10 of your lifetimes. Commander, I recognize opportunity when it presents itself. The princess had recovered her strength and authority. Her initial shock at human capabilities had transformed into respect. She recognized in humanity a vital spark, something the Elven Empire had lost over millennia of isolation. Evolution required challenge, and the elves had faced none. Until now, Kate addressed the council. The void threatens all life, not just Silverian or human. Where we come from, enemies unite when facing extinction. Our differences become our strength. Samantha, the weapons specialist, spoke next. Our military vessels can be retrofitted with modified neutralizers to strengthen specific points in the barrier. We can create a layered defense, Nicole added. Earth has extensive experience with triage and disaster response. We can help evacuate threatened systems and establish medical support. The council session continued for hours as plans developed and cooperation grew. Human adaptability complemented elven experience. Their combined knowledge offered hope against the void, a threat neither could face alone. In a private chamber adjacent to the council room, Zyla and Olivia met with their closest advisors. The princess had requested this smaller meeting to address sensitive matters. Zyla activated privacy fields, ensuring their conversation remained confidential. The Ethereum crisis has revealed vulnerabilities in our empire. For too long we have relied solely on the barrier. Complacency has weakened. Olivia nodded. The Major had seen similar patterns in human military history. But the void, how long have you known about it? The princess gestured, and a historical record appeared in the center of the room. Since the first Silverian explorers encountered it 15,000 years ago, our ancestors discovered Ethereum could repel it. They built the initial barrier and passed the responsibility to each generation. The record showed the slow expansion of the void and the corresponding growth of Silverian territory. The pattern was clear. They maintained distance between populated worlds, and the Yao, encroaching darkness, but why keep it secret? Kate asked. Why not tell other species? The burden could be shared. Vex answered her question, projecting to all present. Most species react with disbelief, then panic. Some attempted to harness the void as a weapon. The results were catastrophic. Entire civilizations lost. Sometimes isolation is wisdom, not arrogance. Grace studied the historical data. The void does not behave like any known cosmic phenomenon. It moves with purpose, almost like the dragon, nodded like a living thing. Yes. We have long suspected it possesses some form of consciousness. It learns, it adapts. Each barrier breach shows new patterns. This revelation stunned the humans. A sentient cosmic void was beyond their experience. Yet, it explained the Elven Empire's paranoia and isolation. They faced not just a natural disaster but an intelligent threat. Olivia processed this new information. The neutralizer worked because the void hadn't encountered similar technology before. But that advantage won't last, Zyla agreed. We estimate we have perhaps one orbital cycle before it adapts. The princess looked physically tired, a rare sight for an immortal being. The strain of maintaining the weakened barrier affected her directly. Through her connection to the Ethereum network, Kate had noticed this connection before but now understood its significance. The royal bloodline served as living conduits. Their magical abilities weren't merely for show, but functional, amplifying the barrier. Throughout the Empire, Zyla, you said the barrier is failing faster than expected, Kate said gently. Why? The princess hesitated, exchanging glances with Vex. The dragon nodded slightly, encouraging her to share the truth. The Ethereum is depleting, Zyla admitted. Our primary source beneath this palace has weakened over centuries. We believed we had centuries remaining. Now I fear we have decades at most. This was graver news than the immediate crisis. The fundamental resource upon which Elven civilization and the barrier depended was running out. No wonder the princess had been so affected by the neutralizer. It had disrupted an already strained system. Grace considered the problem. It's a mineral, right? Have you searched for new deposits? Vex projected. Images of distant star systems. We have found smaller deposits, but none with the purity or concentration of our homeworld. The dragon's mental voice carried deep concern. Olivia recognized a critical strategic opportunity. Earth might have what the elves needed. Humanity had explored regions unknown to the Silverians. Their methods of mineral detection differed. Some human worlds might contain Ethereum without the elves knowing. We should share stellar cartography. Olivia suggested we may have mapped regions you haven't explored. Our mining technology takes different approaches. Hope flickered in Zyla's eyes. For the first time in centuries, she faced problems without clear solutions. The princess, who had ruled with absolute certainty, now navigated uncertainty. And strangely, she found it energizing. The meeting continued as they shared knowledge. The humans learned about Ethereum, its properties and uses. The elves learned about human innovation and adaptability. Both found value in the exchange. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, the broader plans took shape. A joint fleet would reinforce critical points in the barrier. Human engineers would work with elven mages to modify the neutralizer technology. Knowledge would flow in both directions. Outside the palace, the sky had stabilized. Emergency measures had temporarily strengthened the barrier, but darker patches remained visible even in daylight, a constant reminder of what lurked beyond. Kate found herself standing on a balcony, overlooking the Crystal City. 2 months ago, she had been a prisoner. Now she represented humanity's best hope for understanding their new allies. The lieutenant felt the weight of responsibility. Vex joined her, the dragon moving silently despite his crystalline form. You have questions, he projected. Kate nodded. The void. What does it want? Why does it consume? The dragon was silent for a long moment. We do not know. Some believe it seeks to return all existence to primordial chaos. Others think it feeds on reality itself. The only certainty is that nothing survives its passage. A chilling thought. Something so alien that even the elves with their millennia of knowledge could not understand it. How could humanity hope to contribute meaningfully? Vex sensed her doubt. Your species sees patterns others miss. You question assumptions. You imagine alternatives. These are valuable traits. The dragon studied the darkening horizon. Sometimes fresh eyes see what ancient ones cannot. Inside the council chamber, the plans were finalized. Zyla and Olivia stood together addressing the assembled leaders. The princess spoke first. Our isolation ends today. For better or worse, we join our knowledge with humanity. Olivia continued. We face an enemy that threatens all life. Our differences mean nothing before that truth. United, we have a chance. The council session concluded with formal agreements. Earth vessels would arrive soon, bringing scientists, engineers, and military support. Silverian knowledge would be shared. The Ethereum network would be reinforced with human technology. Later, Zyla returned to her private chambers. The princess was exhausted both physically and mentally. The barrier still required her constant attention through the Ethereum connection. Even as others worked on technical solutions, she maintained what remained of their defenses. Kate found her there. The human had come to share updates from Earth communications. Reinforcements had launched. Humanity had mobilized with surprising speed. The princess looked up. You were right about your species, Kate Morrison. They do adapt quickly. She gestured to a chair, inviting Kate to sit. I find myself curious about something. Tell me in your human literature what happens when advanced beings encounter primitive ones. Kate chose her words carefully. The outcomes vary. Some stories show conflict and destruction. Others show mentorship and growth. I prefer the latter. Vex reacted with blinding speed. His crystalline body moved between Zyla and the human intruder. The dragon grew in size, his scales shifting and expanding until he towered over everyone in the room. His wings unfurled, creating a protective barrier of living crystal around the princess. Olivia held her ground, the Ethereum neutralizer humming at her belt. The device was working. She could see it in the way the dragon's glow dimmed slightly. And in the confusion on the princess's face, Kate stood, slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. Major Weber, she said with obvious relief. I knew Earth wouldn't abandon me. The rest of Olivia's team entered the chamber, securing the entrances. Grace immediately began working on the palace systems, accessing their equivalent of a computer network. Samantha kept her weapon trained on Vex while Nicole moved toward Kate to check her condition. Stand down, Lizard, Olivia commanded. Stepping closer, the device at her belt emitted a higher-pitched whine as she increased its power. The ambient energy in the chamber flickered visibly. Streams of light that normally flowed through the crystal walls began to stutter and fade. Vex did not comply. Instead, the dragon did something unexpected. He spoke not telepathically to Zyla as was his custom, but directly into the minds of everyone present. You understand nothing of what you have done. Human. The Ethereum does not just power our weapons, it stabilizes our entire realm. The dragon's mental voice carried emotions, as well as words, fear not for himself or even for Zyla, but for something greater. The palace began to tremble. Crystalline structures that had stood for millennia started developing fracture lines. The disruption was spreading beyond the immediate area. Zyla fell to her knees, her connection to the planet's energy abruptly severed. For an immortal being who had never known weakness, the experience was shocking. Her silver hair lost its luminescence. Her skin became dull. The magical patterns that normally flowed beneath her skin faded. Kate rushed to the princess's side, ignoring Nicole's attempt to pull her back. The lieutenant had spent enough time with Zyla to recognize that something was seriously wrong, something beyond the expected effects of the neutralizer. Olivia. The princess is not what we thought, Kate said urgently. There's more happening here. Before Kate could explain further, the main doors to the chamber burst open. A squad of elven guards entered, weapons drawn. They hesitated, seeing their princess weakened and the strange humans with unknown technology In the confusion that followed, Vex acted. The dragon focused his remaining energy, creating a localized field that temporarily neutralized all technology in the room. The human weapons ceased functioning. The Ethereum neutralizer went silent. The silence lasted only moments, but it was enough. Zyla regained some of her strength, rising to her feet with Kate's assistance. The princess raised her hand, halting her guards from attacking. The human leader has made a grave mistake, she said, her voice weaker than normal but still commanding. She does not understand what her actions threaten. Major Olivia Weber remained defiant, her training keeping her focused despite the unexpected developments. We came for our officer. Nothing more, Your Highness. She added the title with slight sarcasm. Kate stepped forward, placing herself between the two groups. Olivia, wait. There's something you need to know about the elves and their dragons. They're not conquering the galaxy, they're protecting it. The Major frowned. Explain, Lieutenant. And make it quick. Kate took a deep breath. During my time here, I learned things about the Silverian Empire. Their expansion isn't about conquest. It's about creating a defensive perimeter. They use the Ethereum network to maintain a barrier. Vex moved closer, his size reducing to something less threatening. The dragon nodded his crystalline head, encouraging Kate to continue. The elven princess looked at Kate with surprise. The human had pieced together closely guarded information. How much had she discovered during her captivity? Kate continued. The barrier protects against something called the Void, an ancient entity that consumes entire star systems. The elves, with their long lifespans and connection to Ethereum, appointed themselves guardians of this section of the galaxy. Zyla found her voice. For 10,000 years, my people have held back the darkness. The systems you thought we conquered, we saved. And now your ignorance may doom us all. Outside the palace windows, the sky was darkening unnaturally. Without the Ethereum network at full strength, the void was already beginning to seep through. Small patches of absolute darkness appeared among the stars, not the natural darkness of space, but something that seemed to devour light itself. Olivia lowered her weapon but kept the neutralizer active. Show me proof, she demanded. Zyla gestured weakly toward a crystal panel on the wall. Activate the observatory, she commanded one of her guards. The wall shimmered and became transparent, revealing a massive telescope mechanism. Unlike human telescopes, this one used Ethereum crystals to enhance its capabilities. The guard adjusted the controls, and an image appeared in the center of the room. A holographic display of space near the edge of Silverian territory. What they saw silenced everyone. A vast area of nothingness was moving slowly but deliberately toward them. Stars disappeared as it advanced, not exploding, not dying, simply ceasing to exist as if they had never been. The void was absolute, leaving nothing behind. The guard manipulated the controls again, showing historical records. The progression of the void over centuries was clear, as was the Silverian expansion that mirrored it, always staying ahead, always establishing new barrier points. This is what we fight, Zyla said. Her voice had regained some strength as the effects of the neutralizer diminished with distance. This is why we cannot allow your neutralizer technology to spread. It would disable our only defense. Grace looked up from the palace systems she had been accessing. Major, the data supports their claim. She projected her findings for everyone to see. Detailed records of the void, its movements, and the Ethereum barrier technology. Vex turned his crystalline gaze to Olivia. Human technology disrupted our defenses, but perhaps human ingenuity can help restore them. Your species adapts quickly, a trait my kind has observed with interest. The dragon was right. Humanity had achieved in centuries what took other species millennia. Their technology, while different from Silverian methods, had advantages. The neutralizer itself proved they could affect Ethereum in ways the elves had never considered. Kate approached Olivia, speaking quietly. We have an opportunity here, not just to avoid war, but to forge an alliance against something that threatens all life. If the void breaks through, it won't stop with Silverian. Space Earth would be next. Olivia studied the holographic display. The threat was real and immediate. She had come expecting to find an enemy empire. Instead, She found potential allies fighting a war humans knew nothing about. Her mission parameters hadn't prepared her for this. "I need to contact Earth Command," she said finally. Zyla nodded to her guards. "Allow them communication." Grace set up their secure transmission equipment. The response from Earth would take time to reach them given the distance. Olivia used the waiting period to learn more about the Void, and the Ethereum barrier technology. Vex approached the Major cautiously. The dragon studied the neutralizer with interest. The crystalline being seemed to understand the device on an intuitive level. "May I?" The dragon projected into Olivia's mind. The Major hesitated, then removed the device from her belt, handing it to the dragon. Vex held it carefully, turning it over in his clawed hands. His scales resonated with the technology, creating harmonic patterns. "Fascinating," the dragon communicated. "Your species approach the problem from the opposite direction. We amplify Ethereum, you disrupt it. Together, perhaps." Zyla watched the interaction with growing interest. She had regained her composure, the shock of the human intrusion replaced by cautious hope. The princess had lived long enough to recognize potential, even in adversity. Kate joined them, bringing her knowledge of both human and Silverian technology. Together, they began discussing possibilities. The disruption could be reversed. The neutralizer modified to strengthen rather than weaken the Ethereum field. Outside, the darkening sky grew more ominous. Patches of void expanded slowly, consuming the stars. Guards reported similar phenomena across the Empire. The barrier was failing faster than expected. Earth Command finally responded to Olivia's transmission. The message was clear: secure the new alliance, provide all necessary assistance. Reinforcements were already being dispatched. Situation had evolved from a rescue mission to first contact to potential extinction-level event in the span of hours. The fate of two civilizations now depended on cooperation between species that had only just discovered each other. Vex suddenly straightened, his crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "I believe I understand," he projected to everyone. The dragon's scales began to glow brighter as he manipulated the neutralizer. Its internal components rearranged themselves under his influence. The modified device emitted a new tone. The remaining Ethereum in the chamber responded, flowing toward it rather than away. Small streams of luminescent energy converged, creating a miniature version of the planetary barrier. Grace immediately began documenting the modifications, her engineering expertise allowing her to understand what Vex had done. The dragon had reversed the polarity, but more importantly had tuned it to the specific frequency of the void itself. "It is temporary," Vex cautioned. "The effect must be amplified throughout the network." Zyla stepped forward, her strength returning as the Ethereum flowed once more. "I was unprepared for your..." 2 Earth months passed since Lieutenant Kate Morrison became the unwilling guest of Princess Zyla. Earth had received Kate's emergency beacon, but no further communication. The human military leaders debated their options, knowing they faced a technologically superior species with unknown intentions. Major Olivia Weber stood before the Joint Chiefs in the underground war room. Her reputation as the most effective special operations commander had earned her the right to propose a rescue mission. "No one gets left behind," she insisted. Especially not someone with Kate's knowledge. The mission was approved, but with strict parameters. Olivia would lead a small team using experimental technology. They would extract Kate, gather intelligence on the Silverian Empire, and return without triggering a war. Their ship was equipped with a prototype stealth system based on theoretical physics that might evade alien detection. Olivia selected her team carefully. Lieutenant Grace Patel, an engineering genius, Private Samantha Hill, a weapons specialist, and Corporal Nicole Ford, a medical officer with combat experience. Each woman had exceptional skills and unquestionable loyalty. The team launched under cover of darkness, their small vessel barely visible against the cosmic background. The journey would take weeks, even with the advanced propulsion system. During that time, they studied all available information about the aliens, much of it speculative. Kate, meanwhile, had become an object of fascination for Princess Zyla. The human remained technically a prisoner, but enjoyed privileges no captive had ever received. She was allowed to move freely within certain areas of the palace, always under the watchful eye of Vex. Kate used this freedom to gather intelligence. She learned about Ethereum, the rare mineral that powered Silverian technology. It amplified Xyla's magical abilities and served as the foundation of their entire civilization. The largest deposit existed beneath the royal palace, making it the heart of their empire. She also learned about the complex relationship between Xyla and Vex. The dragon was not merely a pet or companion, but a separate, intelligent species that had formed a symbiotic relationship with the elves centuries ago. Their bond went beyond friendship, into something humans had no word for. Most importantly, Kate discovered the true extent of Silverian space and their military capabilities. The information would be vital to Earth if she ever managed to escape. Xyla found herself increasingly intrigued by the human. The princess had lived for centuries and few things surprised her anymore. Kate represented something new, something unpredictable. It was refreshing. "Tell me again about your Earth," Xyla requested. One evening as they dined in her private gardens, Kate had become a regular dinner companion, a development that shocked the royal court. Kate chose her words carefully, revealing enough to seem cooperative while protecting vital information. "Earth is diverse. Our oceans cover most of the planet. Our people come in many colors and cultures. We value freedom and exploration." Xyla sipped from a crystal goblet filled with luminescent liquid. "Your kind lives such brief lives. How do you accomplish anything of value?" Kate smiled. "We adapt quickly. We learn fast, we dream big. What we lack in time, we make up for in determination." Vex observed from nearby, his crystalline form reflecting the garden lights. The dragon had maintained a wary distance from Kate, never fully trusting the human. But he acknowledged her intelligence and courage, qualities the dragon respected. As they spoke, Olivia's team approached Silverian space. Their ship navigated the treacherous asteroid field that served as a natural barrier around the Empire's core worlds. The stealth technology functioned better than expected, rendering them nearly invisible to standard sensors. Grace studied the readings on her console. "Major, I think I found something interesting. The asteroids, they aren't random. They form a pattern almost like a defensive grid." Olivia finished looking at the data. They turned space debris into a minefield. "Clever." The team proceeded with extreme caution. The intelligence gathered from Kate's beacon had provided coordinates for the royal palace on the Silverian homeworld. Their plan was risky but straightforward: breach the palace, disable security, extract Kate, and gather what intelligence they could before escaping. After days of careful navigation, they reached the homeworld. Its beauty was breathtaking. Crystal cities floated among the clouds, connected by bridges of light. The royal palace dominated the largest city, a structure that seemed to defy physical laws, its towers reaching toward the stars. Olivia deployed the experimental technology that would neutralize Ethereum. The device, created by Earth's best scientists, was untested in field conditions, but theoretical models showed promise. If it worked, it would temporarily disable Silverian defenses and weaken their magical abilities. The team landed their craft in a remote area and proceeded on foot. Their armor incorporated the same stealth technology as their ship, making them nearly invisible. They moved through the city, like ghosts observing the alien civilization firsthand. The elves were tall and graceful, their movements fluid, their technology seamlessly integrated with their environment. Inside the palace, Vex suddenly lifted his head. His crystalline scales vibrated, creating a soft chiming sound. Something felt wrong. The dragon could sense a disturbance in the Ethereum field that flowed through the planet. The disruption was subtle, but to one as attuned as Vex, it was like a scream in a silent room. The dragon sent a telepathic warning to Xyla. "My princess, something approaches. Something that should not be." Xyla looked up from the ancient text she had been showing Kate. "Nothing can penetrate our defenses, my dear Vex. Your senses grow dull with age." The dragon hissed in disagreement, but Xyla had returned her attention to Kate. The princess had become careless in her fascination with the human. After centuries of absolute security, she had grown complacent. Olivia's team breached the palace through a maintenance conduit Grace had identified. The Elven security systems were sophisticated but focused primarily on detecting energy signatures. Their stealth technology operated differently, masking them in a way the Silverians had never encountered. They moved through crystalline corridors following the palace schematics Grace had reconstructed from various data sources. The beauty of the alien architecture was distracting walls that seemed solid, from one angle became transparent from another. Light flowed like water through channels in the ceiling. According to their intelligence, Kate was likely kept in the royal wing near the princess herself. They encountered few guards, most security being automated or magical in nature. Those they did encounter were quickly subdued with non-lethal methods. Their orders prohibited killing unless absolutely necessary. Olivia checked the Ethereum neutralizer. The device hummed softly, indicating it was functioning as designed. As they approached the royal chambers, the density of Ethereum increased, making the device work harder. Its effect expanded, disrupting the ambient energy throughout the palace. Vex felt the disruption growing stronger. The dragon paced nervously around Xyla's private chamber where she continued her conversation with Kate. The human's presence had made the princess careless, something Vex had never witnessed before. "My princess," the dragon projected more forcefully. "I sense danger. Please heed my warning." Xyla waved dismissively. "Nothing can penetrate our defenses, Vex. You worry unnecessarily." Kate noticed the dragon's agitation. The creature had always been aloof with her, but now seemed genuinely concerned. She wondered if rescue might be coming sooner than expected. In that moment, Olivia reached the entrance to the royal chambers. The door was sealed with both physical and magical locks. Grace attached a small device to the control panel, bypassing the security system with surprising ease. The magical barrier flickered as the Ethereum neutralizer disrupted its power source. Olivia signaled her team to prepare. They would have one chance to succeed. Failure meant death or worse for all of them, including Kate. The Major activated her personal stealth field and stepped through the door alone. The others would follow on her signal. Inside, Xyla finally sensed something amiss. The Ethereum that constantly flowed through her body began to weaken. She stood abruptly, her eyes scanning the room. Kate recognized the look of someone whose instincts warned of danger. "Impossible," Xyla whispered, her alabaster skin paling further as Olivia disabled her stealth field, revealing herself fully armed in the doorway of the princess's private chamber. The human stood tall, her weapon raised, her eyes locked on the elven princess. The shock on Xyla's face made the months of planning worthwhile. Olivia allowed herself a small smile before speaking. "Lieutenant Morrison." Olivia said, her voice calm. "Your extraction is here." The stars shone bright against the dark canvas of space as Xyla sat upon her crystal throne. Her long pointed ears twitched slightly as she studied the holographic map of her empire. The elven princess had ruled the Silverian Empire for over 300 years, and in that time she had conquered more than 20 star systems. Beside her throne stood Vex, her loyal dragon companion. His scales shimmered with an iridescent glow that matched the crystal architecture of the royal palace. Unlike the dragons of human myth, Vex was not simply a beast but an intelligent being bonded to the princess since her youth. His crystalline form contained powerful magic that amplified Xyla's own considerable powers. The royal court buzzed with activity as nobles and military officers moved about the grand hall. Many stole glances at the princess, her ethereal beauty both enchanting and terrifying. None dared approach without being summoned. Commander Larissa stepped forward and bowed low. "Your Highness, our sensors have detected an unknown vessel entering Sector 7. Should we dispatch a patrol?" Xyla waved her slender hand dismissively. "Another mining ship straying from its route. No need to waste resources." Vex rumbled his disagreement, his telepathic voice reaching only Xyla's mind. "This vessel is different. My princess, it bears energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Xyla frowned. The dragon's instincts had saved her empire many times before. "Very well," she said aloud. "Send 3 warships to investigate, but do not engage unless necessary. I want information, not destruction." The commander bowed again and hurried away to relay the orders inside the small scout ship. Lieutenant Kate Morrison frantically worked the controls. Her hyperdrive had malfunctioned during a routine survey mission, and now she found herself in unknown territory. The ship computer flashed warnings about multiple vessels approaching at high speed. Kate was no ordinary pilot. Having graduated at the top of her class at the Earth Space Academy, she had been assigned to the Frontier Exploration Division. Her mission was to map uncharted regions beyond human space, but not to make contact with potential alien civilizations, especially not ones with advanced technology. She quickly began recording all incoming data and transmissions, hoping to gather valuable intelligence before attempting to escape. The computer translated some of the alien communications, revealing fragments of information about something called the Silverian Empire. Kate felt a jolt as her ship was suddenly caught in a tractor beam. 3 massive vessels surrounded her small craft, each one elegant yet clearly designed for war. Her training kicked in, and she began emergency protocols to protect Earth information and prepare for possible capture. In the royal palace, Zyla received word that the alien vessel had been secured and was being brought to the capital. The princess felt a flicker of curiosity. These newcomers might provide entertainment in her otherwise predictable existence. What species controls this ship? Commander Larissa asked. Unknown, Your Highness. But initial scans show a bipedal life form with significantly shorter lifespan than our kind. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but shows interesting variations we have not seen before. Bring the alien to me when you arrive, Zyla commanded. I wish to see this creature myself. Hours later, Kate found herself being escorted through magnificent crystal hallways by guards with pointed ears and ancient eyes. Their armor seemed to be made of living metal that shifted and adjusted with their movements. Each guard carried weapons that hummed with energy. They arrived at enormous doors that opened silently, revealing a vast throne room. Kate struggled to maintain her composure as she took in the impossible architecture. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet above, mirroring the star patterns visible through transparent sections. The floor appeared to be liquid, crystal yet supported weight perfectly. At the far end sat the most beautiful and terrifying being Kate had ever seen. The alien woman had alabaster skin, with subtle luminescent patterns flowing beneath her eyes, were large and almond-shaped with pupils like a cat's. Her hair flowed like liquid silver down to her waist. The pointed ears marked her as something from human myth. An elf, most shocking of all, was the creature beside her throne. A dragon with crystalline scales that caught and refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. It was smaller than the dragons of Earth legend, perhaps the size of a horse, but its presence filled the room with palpable power. The guards forced Kate to her knees before the throne. So this is what humans look like. Zyla mused, her voice musical yet cold, primitive yet interesting. The princess barely looked at Kate, focusing instead on a report floating in the air before her. Kate used those precious moments to observe everything, noting details about the guards, weapons, and the apparent hierarchy of those present in the court. The dragon Vex studied Kate with intelligent eyes that seemed to pierce through to her soul. The creature leaned toward its mistress, and though no sound was made, the princess nodded, as if hearing spoken words. Your species is unknown to us, Zyla finally said, addressing Kate directly. Your ship entered our territory without permission. Explain yourself. Kate had spent her captivity listening carefully to the guards and the ship crew. She had an exceptional talent for languages and had already begun to decipher basic patterns in the alien speech. Now she took a risk, and you must be the tyrant I have heard whispers about across 3 sectors. Kate responded in the aliens' own language. The court fell into shocked silence. Guards reached for weapons. Nobles gasped. The dragon hissed a sound like crystal chimes in a storm. Zyla froze her expression, changing from casual disdain to complete shock. For the first time in centuries, someone had surprised her. The humans spoke their language, impossible. How the princess began, then stopped, gathering her composure. How do you speak our tongue? Kate maintained eye contact, a dangerous move, but one that established her as more than a simple prisoner. I listen, I learn. That is what humans do. Best Vex unfurled his wings, creating a display of light that momentarily blinded everyone in the room. When vision cleared, the dragon had moved closer to Kate, its crystal teeth inches from her face. The princess rose from her throne in one fluid motion and approached. She circled Kate, examining the human from all angles. "You are either very brave or very foolish human, to address me thus." "Perhaps both," Kate replied. "Your empire is vast, but ours is growing. We need not be enemies." Zyla laughed, a sound like silver bells. "You have courage, little human, I will grant you that. Your species intrigues me. Tell me of your world while you remain my guest." Guest, Kate thought. Not prisoner, that was something she could work with. The princess returned to her throne, but her eyes remained fixed on Kate with new interest. The human had done something no one had managed in centuries. She had surprised the immortal elven ruler. And in that moment, the fate of two civilizations began to shift. Vex watched the interaction with ancient eyes. The dragon sensed something important had begun, something that would change the empire forever.